Hello, this is Dr. Lewerenz at Longevity Health Institute. Hope this finds you well and enlightens you and educates you. So listen, let's talk about hormones. As most of you know, I have for years and years been replacing and balancing and optimizing hormones. But let's get to some nuts and bolts about the benefits, not just in your overall kind of vitality, energy, muscle, libido, vigor, sleep, etc., but where these really can impact you in your memory and cognitive function. So let me back up just a bit and just review a few things. So here at Longevity Health Institute, we always balance your hormones. We're always looking at all your hormones: growth hormone, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, pregnenolone, your adrenal hormones, cortisol, DHEA, thyroid, making sure you don't have Hashimoto's, which is very overlooked, insulin and your insulin resistance and sensitivity and how we can maximize that. But these are all hormones in your body that need to be appreciated and analyzed and optimized, okay? But let's just talk about the basics of some things and how they work and where they can really influence your brain. So now, of course, these can help and improve and reverse and stabilize cognitive function. And we have evidence of this because we do this with our WAVI test, our cognitive EEG test, that actually is objective for brain speed and power. And in other videos, you've heard me talk about the WAVI test. And we have protocols that actually we follow that helps improve that, but we have an objective test that shows you pre and post how we're improving your cardiovascular function and your brain function. But we have not just you telling us, but also actually an objective test on power and speed, memory, recall, etc. So, but here's the thing is that what hormone matters for this? And all of them. They all matter. So here's the thing is, one of the biggest influences that you have to appreciate when you're looking at in considering somebody that has either brain fog, which is real simple, dealt with it probably 3 times a day, cognitive issues that are mild, just, yeah, my attention's off, I'm having a hard time recalling names, I forget things, and, a little bit, not like I used to, be a lot sharper. Or, hey, I just don't have that mental speed and energy and brain initiative and confidence. Or if we're talking about something more severe like dementia or Alzheimer's. These all matter. Catching it earlier, the sooner the better always, just like everything. And appreciating every hormone and every hormone's impact here, okay? Now for time, and so that I'm not boring you, hopefully not, but we want to talk about some big hitters. So in men and women, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone are huge influences on brain voltage and volume. And literally, when I say volume, I mean the size of your brain and harnessing and keeping your brain volume the same so that your brain doesn't atrophy. So as we get into our 4th, 5th, 6th decade, we start to get, due to cardiovascular effects, hypertension, microvascular disease, endothelial dysfunction, we get atrophy. Our brains literally shrink. And when you actually do a MRI or a SPECT scan on somebody's brain, very sadly, but we see lower brain volume, okay? And hormones, particularly estrogen in a woman and progesterone, particularly testosterone and DHEA in a man, create better brain volume, okay? And actually give you a better myelin and kind of protective sheath, if you will, around your neurons, okay? And that is super important in aging and cognition, okay? Now, some simple things is this. What do we see? Well, this way a 70, 80-year-old actually has the brain size of somebody that might be 30 and 40, okay, and then has less, chance of things like building plaques and tau and amyloid proteins, and essentially has a better chance of withstanding any mild cognitive decline, okay? But volume is important, voltage is important, okay? Anytime that you compromise that, you're gonna lose brain function. Now let's talk about when you're younger and something day to day. I don't care if you're 20, 30, 40. This is something that you actually will see when we talk about testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, DHEA, okay? Is that these actually are very important in the frontal lobe, particularly testosterone in men and women, estrogen in women, and DHEA in both, okay? The frontal lobe has to do with executive function, interests, disinhibition, meaning confidence, decision making, ability to be creative. These are all important things in memory and in brain function, executive function. And when you lose those hormones bathing your frontal lobe, you're going to suffer. And if you're sharing this video with somebody or you're listening to somebody and think of this, this is where mood and mood disorders start to happen in your middle ages or even 30s or 40s. And this is where also interests become lost. So one of our questions here, me and my practitioners always ask at Longevity here, is we always ask, like, on our interviews, is, what are your interests? What are your hobbies? Why does it matter? Well, it tells us something about where you're at from a standpoint of who maybe you are from a personality standpoint, and maybe who you were, and maybe, again, maybe, okay, at a personalized level, something has changed, and something has changed based on because you've lost some hormones related to your frontal lobe. And so we have to look at this in a personalized way, in a detailed way about, is that a possibility? Meaning, so say you have a musical interest, or a sport interest, or a hobby interest, an outdoor activity, and all of a sudden you say, yeah, I used to really like to do that, and it's not just a time, I can't fit it in, and life's changed, and kids and family. It's just like, yeah, I just don't really care anymore. It just doesn't excite me or whatever. Fine, and that's all fair, and obviously we evolve and grow. And, for instance, I read more than I ever could imagine, and I enjoy it. And I never did that and enjoyed it in my 20s, believe me, or 30s. It was torture. And now I enjoy it. So my point being is we can evolve and change, but it does mean something to the practitioner about your frontal lobe. And again, then when we evaluate hormones and we look at your WAVI test and your cognitive function and what's happening there, your voltage, is that something that you might be insufficient or deficient on? Testosterone, estrogen, DHEA, okay? Big things for women and men that you have to appreciate. Now, on another hormone level, thyroid obviously has a lot to do with brain function as well as many, many other things, but it has to do with brain speed, okay? And again, I'm being very generalized. These all interact and affect each other. But here's the thing is that about when you're talking about thyroid, is that when you lose thyroid function, whether it's Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism, is that you will tend to be slow, brain foggy, slow to respond. Your overall, function will be a little bit on the delayed end, and we can measure this with our WAVI test. Okay, and we could pre and post measure this, but this is where hormones play a huge role into your brain cognitive function. I will tell you at a mood level, okay, it's remarkable what testosterone, estrogen, and thyroid do for somebody's mood. Even when you just lose 30%-ish of your hormone optimal range, you will actually have significant brain decline and often mood decline. Okay, and again, this is subjective, but also objective in our testing. The other hormone I think that's really important to understand in time, over time, is the hormone insulin. Essentially, from birth to death, okay, we are on the spectrum of becoming insulin resistant, meaning that we're more and more carb and sugar sensitive. And basically, sugar destroys us, okay? You've heard me say this before in other videos. So we are on a journey in our life in prevention to keep our carbs and our sugar load effect at a cellular level low, down, okay? Sugar's rotten us, essentially, okay? There's nothing good about sugar effects on your body. So as we age, birth to death, we become more and more, regardless of weight and diet and all that, we lose 1% of our isolate cells that make insulin from our pancreas per year. So once you're 50 years old, you've lost 50% of your pancreas effects making insulin. So again, diet has an effect, of course, but aging has an effect. And what does this do to your brain? Well, we know definitively in studies and in a WAVI objective test, we know that insulin has a huge influence, and sugars have a huge influence on cardiovascular effects and cognitive effects. So essentially what's happening with your cardiovascular system is, I can guarantee, over time affecting your brain system, okay? Which also often then reflects in mood and memory, okay? So when we're talking about the spectrum of life and following you as we do, as we assist you in aging gracefully and thriving, not just surviving, we want to keep you more insulin productive and insulin sensitive and less insulin resistance, which is affected by diet, lifestyle, hormones, and environmental things. And we cover all those here at Longevity Health Institute. So very important. So hormones fully have to be appreciated when you're talking about cognitive things and mood things and brain fog and memory and recall. Today alone, somebody had dramatic effects in 2 simple things, and he was 42 years old and new with us. And he has seen a doctor on the East Coast and 2 doctors here, and he literally had some profound effects in one visit, okay? And we just today had his follow-up where we looked at his hormones. He has adrenal issues and adrenal fatigue. He has a low DHEA. He has low testosterone, and he has gut issues. And his digestive issues that are causing leaky gut and candida, the gut-brain connection, he has probably said a 70-80% improvement in one visit over 30 days, okay, with his brain function and brain energy and all that, just by the use of things that help restore the gut lining and get rid of yeast, and DHEA used appropriately. And now we're going to add in therapy for him to improve his testosterone, and obviously nutrition and nutrients and all that. But these major effects, he was already 80% better, and he said he hasn't had this kind of energy and brain clearness and clarity in over 2 years. So it doesn't have to be that complicated. We just have to look at you in the whole picture of you as a whole, not just a single piece, and put you together, if you will. So that's hormones and brain health and brain power and recall and mood and memory. Get on it now, identify it, and treat it appropriately now in a functional, personalized way, which is our expertise. And we're always here, happy to help you. Me and my practitioners are excited every day to put you on the path of health and wellness. This is Dr. Lewerenz. Be well.